could have lowered the price by a grand if they would have put just some steel rims on it.
Pulling up the hill on S.
Matt, what do you think? Should we get started?
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
All right, it's a little after 10 here, but I don't think, Jared, anybody's on Zoom. I think everybody in here, one way or another, is involved in the city. I don't think anybody is here for the public, but we are taping this if anybody from the public wants to hear. But we'll go around the room. I guess we'll just kind of start and go this way. Everybody can introduce themselves. I'm Matt Murphy. Obviously, everybody knows the Public Works Director for the city.
Kevin Moore, Peters Concrete Company.
Ryan Chazinski with Robert Lee and Associates.
Rob Freeman, Robert Lee and Associates.
Jared Hines, City of Algoma.
Dick Coachard, School District. Scott Weeds, Algoma Utility.
Matt Steffen, Cedar Corp. Lee Dashlet, Chairman, Public Works.
Steve Lattenbach, Councilman.
Jake Maring, Public Works.
Randy Rubiker, Chief.
Aaron Miller, City Clerk.
All right, with that being said, we're at the pre-construction phase of our 2021 road and utility, street and utility project. Kevin Moore, we've already been through the design phase, the bid phase, pre-con phase, and hit the ground running with starting to tear up start this project. So Kevin is here from Peters, and I'm gonna kind of turn it over with him and Ryan, or actually Ryan maybe,
Sure.
To kind of get us through. I think everybody has an agenda. 90% of it we're gonna buzz through pretty quick. At any time, if somebody has a question, just feel free to let us know, and we'll get you the answers to it.
Yep, just interject at any time. So we're just going to follow the agenda kind of as it goes, and if you don't have questions, just let us know. The contract status is all, the contract is signed by all parties, the agreement is in place. The notice to proceed was issued on March 8th of 2021. The work involved is 6th Street, the street and utility reconstruction, which will be water main, sanitary, storm, excavation, crushed base course, curb and gutter, driveways, asphalt, and restoration. The traffic requirements: contractor shall maintain local traffic in areas under immediate construction throughout the project. It's his responsibility to maintain such traffic. 6th Street needs to be open to all residences. There will be some short-term when they're with immediate work, but as discussed later, they'll have to give proper notice to all homeowners or businesses in the area. With schedule, the prosecution and schedule, the contract documents state that the reconstruction of 6th Street cannot begin between Washington and Fremont until June 1st, but the contractor could start between Jefferson and Washington at any time. And with that, I'm going to kind of just turn it over to Kevin. If you can kind of just give us a brief discussion of your schedule you brought in this morning.
Okay, I'm assuming everyone's got a schedule. So what we're anticipating is a crew moving in potentially the week of the 24th. More than likely, it will be Monday the 31st. When we do start, which will be before school's out, and it's important to Nick, the job does have the flexibility of work between Washington and Jefferson Street. So in fact, when we do move in, before school is out, we'll start on that section of roadway, not interfering with in front of the school on 6th Street. The first phases of work, of course, will be the sanitary and water main work, and we'll complete that throughout the project limits. Once that's installed, we'll be going after the storm sewer work, which will be, if you reference the schedule, will be the end of June into the beginning of July. After all the underground is done, we'll begin the excavation and grading and gravel installation. And once that's complete, the concrete curb and gutter and sidewalk work will follow up with asphalt paving towards the middle to end of August, and final landscaping wrapping up the last week of August. So that's an overall look at the schedule, what we anticipate.
We're done with school May 28th, so if you are
Oh, perfect.
doesn't impact us. In fact, if that's what you want to do, I would much rather just kind of shut everything down on that side, and then you guys are free to do whatever you need to do.
Sure. You have summer school, Nick?
Yes, but it's primarily on the opposite end of the building. We just use the it's not nearly as many students.
Okay.
And we don't bus there.
And your staff and people will know what's going on?
Correct.
Okay.
Kevin, how's this, toward the end, the HMA pavement, landscaping gonna conflict with Shanty Days week?
There could be, depending on how this scope works, and we were gonna talk, or we will talk a bit about that. Kevin is aware, our engineer, Robert E. Lee, is aware. As we get closer to that Shanty Days, that portion could be in gravel, for the Shanty Days parade. But we will make sure that that is all okay to get through that weekend of Shanty Days weekend. Kevin does know Fremont Street is the parade route and kind of how that arts and crafts
I was
stuff.
thinking more along the lines of the vendors that fill the schoolyard and then down.
Correct.
And down 6th Street.
Yep, we will work with that at that time to manage that to get through that Shanty Days weekend.
What weekend is that?
August 13th and 15th.
15th, yeah.
Okay,
Right
well,
about dead center in the
yeah,
middle.
and hopefully if everything goes well, we'll be ahead of what we're anticipating for the schedule. It won't be an issue, but if not,
Weather permitting, everything else, it could be
Right.
blacked out.
right,
You know, it's just, once they get to their thing, and then they can say, okay, Northeast put us on the schedule when they're going north or south, and they get it done actually when that's gonna happen. Weather, everything else, so. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Well, that's good, we're good. All right, well, thank you, Kevin, thank you, everybody. And as Kevin alluded, the project needs to be completed by August 27th of '21, with final completion, all paperwork, restoration, everything closed out, done by October 1st. All submittals, final pay request. The anticipated start date, we'll put down as May 31st, slash possibly week of 24th. Project superintendent is Kevin Moore. His contact information is here. Kevin, you said it might be Nate will be the foreman?
Nate will be the initial foreman. That will change with the grading operation.
Sure.
And that person will be determined.
Okay.
Contact
Oh,
right in your sheet.
I'm sorry. Yep, okay. Perfect. All right, moving on to utilities. Make sure you contact Diggers Hotline. I saw that the water main was already marked out there today, so. Moving on to the Algoma utility, Pete, I don't know if you want to discuss anything with the water associated with the project.
As far as the water goes, we'll be temporarily feeding homes on the route from neighboring homes for the most part, only because of lack of hydrants. So the utility will be setting that system up, and we'll coincide with Kevin on that and get that all squared away, but, other than that, I've been meeting with the customers to, kind of explain if they have lead or iron pipe, this is a good chance for them to get rid of that if they choose. We will be replacing laterals up to the curb stop, and then beyond that, from the curb stop to the home is landowner's responsibility, so I just try to meet with all of them. This past week I've been visiting and we just go kind of play it by ear like that.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Pete. Are there any electrical conflicts anticipated, anything out there?
No.
No, okay, perfect.
One
Which is,
primary crossing just south of Fremont that feeds the PAC.
oh,
It's marked,
yeah,
but
it's just there. It's not getting changed.
No,
That's underground?
It's just an underground.
okay.
Just get better, we'll have to be located.
Yeah.
All right. I did receive emails this week from WPS that there are no conflicts are anticipated with this project.
Ryan, excuse me,
sorry.
did you discuss anything in detail with Marty? Because that's the gas services from Washington to Jefferson, I guess I would be concerned about.
The email discussion I got back from them that they had no anticipated conflicts out here.
Okay.
Do you see something different?
Well, historically, gas services can be a challenge. You may say they're not in conflict, but that's kind of a canned response,
Right.
you know? So that's something we should probably follow with Marty on.
Are you asking like those get located prior to that whole project, or
Well,
Or do you want-
try to determine their depth.
depth and potholes? or-
Whether they're in the pavement section
I know we had
or
an issue with it
So-
on Navarino.
Yeah.
That one was, I
Store-
don't know if it was under the
So,
blacktop. and
storm,
that was about it.
you know, often it's storm sewer, if not in the new pavement section. So it's, you know, it's better to bring it up to them again, so.
Pete, do you have a, kind of know, was that in your time, do you know, a updated gas down Sixth Street, or is that probably steel?
Sixth Street wasn't, they went up and down.
Washington.
Yeah,
All the other ones,
Washington.
but nothing on Sixth, so that's probably old steel yet?
I would say, yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay.
There is a duct pack that runs down Sixth also.
Well, maybe between the water and the curb line, there's a duct pack, definitely north of Adams, west side of the road. You'll notice there's fresher blacktop there, there's a duct pack marked in there.
All right. Right here, it's all
That,
that T,
The T.
that's the.
That's the duct
the whole
pack he's referring
that
to?
runs there, yes.
yeah, which is really behind, I mean, we'll have
Just
to
behind.
cross it with the services, but,
Yeah,
Yep,
that
correct.
would probably be the only-
yeah.
And some
I
of the
mean, that-
tie-ins, like on the side streets, you'll be,
And your tie-ins, yeah, like on
Right,
Adams.
right.
yeah.
Does it make sense to see if they want to replace that, so that they don't come back in 16 months and dig up man's streets?
They're not going to.
No, Shea does not want to, they want to leave it in place.
Yeah.
They don't want us, they're not, there's no plan to relocate that currently.
The utilities are usually sent a year ahead. When you first started the project, you're sent a letter, and then they can check the age of their facilities, and then they decide from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had coordination prior, yes, sir. All right, I'll follow up with Marty on the services and see if they can't come out and do some depth checks, potholing. Moving on to AT&T, speaking with Shea, they have no conflicts anticipated, and as discussed, that duct path was kind of just the only item to bring up, but that should be behind the curb and out of conflict. For cable, there are no conflicts anticipated for this project. I believe all permits, everything are in place from the DNR. We do not need a core permit. I believe the water permits are all in place. So I really have no comments from the DNR. Moving on to the city. Matt, do we have any comments or anything we want to bring up in regards to Sixth Street?
I don't at this time. We were gonna talk a little bit about Shanty Days. I think we've covered our grounds on that and how that's gonna work. Does anybody from my Public Works have anything? I don't think at this time.
No? Okay, that sounds great. Changes in the scope of work. Work change directives may be initiated by the owner and signed by the owner and the engineer, and the contractor may ask for a work change directive to be issued for additional work he intends to perform. To ensure payment of the work change directive should be issued prior to any, or to performing any work. Additionally, change orders and field orders may be initiated by the owner, engineer, or contractor and shall be signed by everybody. All changes in the scope of work will be accompanied by one of the following, either the work change directive, change order, or the field order. The long and short, just don't perform any additional work without some sort of guidance or paperwork in place. Moving on to the special provisions and plan discussions. Just going through the special provisions are kind of just a lot of the items that just want to make sure we call out and address. You make sure you coordinate with the post office and emergency services with the project, that, with the road closed, make sure everyone's aware of it. You need to televise all new pipe, ensure a 48-hour notice to the engineer and property owners when water or driveway access is restricted. Contractors responsible for scheduling all compaction density testing. Use extreme care to protect all trees out on site. We need to ensure a clean sawed joint on all new asphalt. 2-inch rubber rings on all manholes in the roadway. Traffic control, do we have a 24-hour contact for traffic control? Is that on here too?
You know, I did not. Barricade
no,
flasher, I'll
barricade.
get that. Yeah, it's
Okay.
Justin Hamer is his name, if you want to jot that down now.
Justin Hamers. Okay.
And his cell phone is 920-229-8535.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Ensure the reconnection of any existing roof drains, tile drains, or sump pumps to the storm sewer, and that's incidental to the storm sewer bid item. If there are new connections that someone wants to connect to, that'll be paid by the appropriate bid items. Provide Algoma with at least a 1-week notice for the temporary water, which I believe we're doing today. We'll be talking about that. As far as any staking needs, if you can get me a 3-day notice, do you want me to set up staking for the week of the 24th for sanitary?
Yes.
Okay. And then also, we need to get any shoulder or lane closures for Jefferson Street, State Highway 54 into LCS, the DOT lane closure system. So if you can give me a 10-day notice before we do any work out there, that'd be great. Do you plan to keep that shoulder on 54 continuously closed, like with your barricades and everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once you start inside those project limits, they'll stay closed till we're back to black.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So would it be safe for me to say that that shoulder will be closed starting the 31st and it'll remain closed until August?
Worst case scenario, but we can talk about those details maybe after the meeting.
Maybe after? Well,
Yeah,
all right,
and
sounds good.
we might be able to set it up where we do that tie-in at the very end of our underground
Sure.
to minimize that closure.
Okay. Sounds good. We can talk about those later. And then also there were some holiday work restrictions in the spec. Just make sure we follow those. Miscellaneous items, timing of estimates within the spec. It calls out certain times to submit those, get those submitted so we can go through the proper approval processes. Materials and shop drawings are being submitted continuously and approved. I still believe I owe you one review submittal response. That kind of sums up everything I wanted to go over this morning. I don't know if I want to open it up to the group. If there's anything there's a specific question or anything we want to discuss.
Nick is here with the school, and because of that scope of work that's gonna happen outside of our scope of work, just so everybody's on the same page with that, that will be performed under the contract with the city, but those quantities will be segregated from the school to the school.
Sure.
So what's gonna happen is Peter's under our contract will perform that work, which is gonna predominantly be the asphalt work on that edge of school where it comes off into that parking lot and goes all the way up. We'll take those quantities then and in turn bill the district back. All right, so everybody's clear on that. Nick, do you have questions about that, or?
No, I guess there are some, I think there's stormwater there, and it's a bunch of different elevations, so if there's engineering costs associated with that too, I would suspect that will all be.
That is correct, and as we work through that and we get there, that's where that one manhole is and how we deal with that and that new tie-in there. I think that's on the plans, we looked at it.
Yep.
We'll work through that, Nick, and keep you abreast on how that goes in the school district, so. Does anybody else have any questions? Matt?
Kevin, as far as your schedule goes, are you gonna start with sanitary and continue sanitary from one end to the other end and then move on to water main and then do all the water main next, or?
Typically, that's what we would do, and I think after the meeting, we'll maybe have a discussion with Pete, yourself, and Ryan and Matt, as to how to attack this. Maybe we want to take a couple blocks at a time,
Okay.
type thing.
Are
So-
you more or less asking, Matt, for that you have an on-site inspector out here?
Yeah, just-
And when that time frame is gonna kinda land?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the scheduling.
Sure. All right, if that's the end of everybody's questions, if anybody has any other questions as this progresses, feel free to let me know. I can get them answered. And, thank you, everybody, for attending. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Have a good day, everybody.